Hello everyone, Johnny Minder here, and today we are continuing to learn Japanese with Pokémon FireRed. Last time we started going around Cerulean City, also caught a Pokémon, the Pokémon that was left, the only one we didn't have yet in Route 4. So we finished Route 4 for now, but yeah, we started Cerulean City, in particular, especially the Pokémon Center, and yeah, today we'll start from there, and then we'll see what we'll tackle from there, maybe the Poké Mart, the Mart, the friendly shop as it's called in Japanese, or the city in general, but yeah, we'll see. Without further ado, let's start. Yeah, simply moving Pokemon in the box here. Getting the fossil once more, yeah, leaving Malmoon from the actual right side. Yeah, this is the actual exit. Arrived in Cerulean City, as shows here, as mentioned. The Chaku is the kanji for to arrive, which we have studied. Oh yeah, we saved here in the Pokémon Center. And we had only this old man left. So yeah, let's start seeing what he has to say. Reminder that last time they actually, all the other NPCs, or at least most of them, talked about Masaki. A certain Masaki. You might know who that is if you have played these games before, or no, in Pokemon. I also gave a clue to that, but I won't mention the name in English until we meet that person. Yeah, of course. This character also talks about Masaki once more. Yeah, first and foremost says, Kimi mo Masaki no uwasa kiiteru ka? So yeah, first and foremost we have Kimi, the usual second person singular pronoun, you in the singular, familiar language. Sometimes considered male language, as we have mentioned, also according to the dictionary, but yeah, fundamentally familiar language. Unaccented. Yeah, we've seen it a lot before, even just in this very series and also elsewhere. Mod, inclusive particle, also even. Masaki, the name of this character everyone is talking about here. Not the possessive particle. Uwasa. Don't remember if I've seen it before. It means, Uwasa means rumor, hearsay, and so on. Unaccented. And then we have Kiiteru ka. Kiiteru comes from Kiku, to hear, also by extension to ask, especially with a different kanji, but not necessarily. Kiku, to hear, other, of course, also to listen to. But yeah, unaccented, verb and verb, so to make that a form, like here we have to follow the rules. It's in ku, so it becomes ite. Again, as usual, we change the u into i. Kiki to make the continuative form, and then simply attach the te, but the k fell, and that's why now we have i. Only, yeah, the form here in its usage with Iru, or better actually, Iru, this is a contraction. Iru, to be as in to exist, of animate things, people and animals on its own. After that, the form of a verb becomes an auxiliary with the meaning continuing action or state. Yeah, the usual one, used a lot, unsurprising, since it in English it would be to be doing the action of the verb, or to have add whatever the verb says. So yeah, you can see how why it's so common in Japanese. Last but not least, the card interrogative particle, yeah, because it's a question. Also marked here with the question mark to show that, yeah, it's an actual question with also the rising intonation. Of course, in speech we would hear that, but in Japanese you should also use the interrogative particle ka or variants. Sometimes in practice they only keep the intonation, so yeah, of course when written then we would see it only with a question mark then. Yeah, so here's he's saying instead of in this case would be actually continuing state technically, because even in translation it would be have you heard, have you also heard the rumors of Masaki, literally about Masaki, but yeah, in Japanese simply noun, well, noun in this case the name of the person, possessive particle no, and then uwasa, waser. After that it continues with minna ga aitsu wo Pokémon mania to yonderu yo. First and foremost, we have minna. We have also seen the. Don't remember if we have straight up seen it in game or I mentioned it. There's also the variant mina. Actually, that's the original term, and then there's this variant with the additional n, which makes it more emphatic and less formal. Yeah, mina without the original term is more formal, unsurprisingly. The accent is always on na, regardless. The meaning is everyone, everybody, all. Worth mentioning that technically by extension, also I also see an example there with all as in everything, but yeah, not more. Usually it's more everyone. That's the usual usage. That one I'd say by extension. But yeah. So then we have the subject particle ga. Aitsu. Part of the Kosodo series, yeah, once more, and surprisingly, quite used, consider their meanings. Ko, close to both the speaker and the listener. So, far from the speaker, close to the listener. Far from both. Do, the interrogative. So A, usually an accented do, accent on do itself. Here, we aren't. Could be technically aitsu with the a, because technically, yeah, it's far. This person is far from both the speaker and the listener here. Could also be the usage of so and a usually when referring to something. Clearly not there simply as that in when talking about something, a certain topic, a certain something. There is a difference between the two. It should be that technically, paradoxically, despite being usually the distance far from both, that is something that both have know, have present, and so on. So, no. of course, if the speaker is talking about that, yeah, they usually have. So yeah, in the sense of then actually after this, but we'll see it again. I'll also check it again because these are the things I discovered. I've found later on my own. I think it was mentioned also in some texts, in some textbooks and so on, but you know, these aren't your typical Japanese knowledge taught at the university and so on. But yeah, there is technically this distinction between so and a. Honestly, in this case, could be simply because, yeah, this person is far away. Anyway, it's not here. But yeah, regardless, we have then the object particle O written as one pronounced as such in careful speech and also singing. Pokemon Mania. So yeah, we have Pokemon, of course, as usual. Then we have this Mania. Yeah, literally comes from English mania. Accent lucky like in English, so on the ma. And so enthusiasm. By extension, and yeah, that's clear the usage here, it's enthusiast maniac, we could say abbreviated, but yeah, we can use simply the term mania here for both the mania itself and a maniac. But yeah, so and by the way, yeah, for example, the example shown in the online dictionary, it's Aizu once more, wa ka mania, and then continues. So yeah, his Karnat. By the way, actually, I haven't mentioned the meaning of Aizu specifically, but yeah, Aizu, when we add Itsu to Kosoa, to, we get guy, this, that, guy, and so on. Familiar language at the very least, but can also be derogatory. By the way, it should be also straight up. I wanted to mention the opening of Super Girls, if you have ever heard of it, seen it. It's a manga and anime series. But yeah, the opening of that should be straight up called Aitsu. Yeah, because it's the song talks about this guy, that guy, and so on. But yeah, came to mind, so I wanted to mention it incidentally. But yeah, so yeah, funny enough, Aitsu, an accent as usual for those Kosoa words specifically. Do accent on do itself, as already mentioned. Funny enough, present also in the example in the online dictionary. But yeah. So yeah, we have Pokemon Maniac. Then we have the to with here as the quoting particle, so yeah, with and before it the quotation. Because yeah, we have apart from the context, after it we have straight up the verb yonderu, which I think we have seen before. Don't remember if in this very series. Technically, yeah, in this case it's simply to call. It can also be used as in to call out to someone. So there's that difference. We've seen the verb which means then in practice to call you, but yeah, that's we've even studied the kanji of that. That one is technically to say, so someone is called in the sense that is said, whatever comes, or something is said and then before it a quotation. But yeah, this one is straight up to call. Yobu should be an accent. Yes, it is. Again, verb to make that a form, we have to follow the rules. Being in bu, it becomes nde, because originally we changed the u into e as usual. Yobi, continuative form, to then attach the te. The e fell in this case, only the b remained. Voiced consonants in Japanese were prenasalized in classical Japanese. So it was actually mb. So already we can see how where the nasal comes from. Yeah, the becomes simply m. Then technically in this case the b fell also, but yeah, left the nasal here, and that influenced the te that became voiced, but actually so in the past prenasalized, and yeah, so de was actually straight up de. So you can see how after the nasal, the moraic nasal, it becomes voiced. And by the way, it's worth mentioning it here to mention it here incidentally. That's one of the cases in which, in the past, well, in classical Japanese, even in Chinese compounds, you would have the voicing of the following consonant. So yeah, when you had a final in the first syllable of the first kanji, then the mora of the first mora of the second kanji, the first consonant would become voiced if it could become voiced. Unfortunately, nowadays it isn't automatically. That's not automatically the case. That changed at some point in Japanese. And so there are now some compounds, some Chinese compounds, where you can find and then a voiceless consonant. But yeah, worth mentioning in the incidentally, because yeah, it's for the same reason, of course, as these. But yeah. The form once more to then add ru, so actually ru, continuing action or state. Here technically simply is called in translation. Last but not least, yeah, the final sentence particle yo. You know, certainty, emphasis, and so on. But yeah, so he's saying, yeah, you know, everyone calls that guy Pokemon Maniac. Yeah, we can continue. Then this NPC says, Demo, mono atsumetari jiman shitai kimochi wa? Then continues. Yeah, first and foremost we have demo. This we have seen for sure, and most likely also in this very series. A conjunction nowadays, its origin is the te form of the copula, and then we have the inclusive particle, also even better in this case. So literally, even with that being the case, even if or even though that's the case, so you can see how its meaning as a conjunction becomes though or however, technically, but this one is found at the start of sentences, like we can see here usually. So yeah, it's worth mentioning incidentally that this we have seen also, I think actually recently, demo is also used as a particle. So it's in that case it's simply even. I'd say more on its own is more like a simpler also, but yeah, demo is even. Then we have mono. Yeah, no, in this case, straight up simply, let's say, object, thing as in object. We have studied its kanji. We have even studied the kanji of the other mono, which means person by extension. The origin is the same, but that one specialized as person. But yeah, we have studied those kanji. This one, the more common one, object, things, object particle o. Atsumetari, Atsumeru. We might have seen it also last time in this very series because of all this matter of a Masaki. If we haven't, yeah, it's a verb. It's the verb which means to collect, assemble, gather. This is the transitive. The intransitive is in aru, yeah, as usual. A couple here with one, the transitive in aru, the intransitive in aru. The intransitive in aru is most certainly a classical form of the passive. Is collected, so then simply the intransitive is something collects, gathers somewhere. But yeah, accent Atsumeru. Here we have to make its ta form. Luckily it's ru verb, it's and verb, so pretty easy. We simply drop the ru, make the conjugative form Atsume, and then simply attach the ta. The ta on its own is the past form of the verb in plain speech, but here we don't have simply that, we add also ri. With the ri, we get this form tari, which means it technically can be an ing, as in a structure in and ing, with two actions, technically usually opposite, so yeah, coming and going, laughing and crying and so on. So an alternation between the two. Or I'd say this usage even more common, the second one, doing such things as. So actually you the simply doing such things as also for non-exhaustives lists of actions one does. Strictly speaking, actually, this notice the e of tari. Yeah, it's actually the continuative form of the auxiliary from which the ta form comes from. So, unsurprising then it has also in translation that ing, as in the noun technically. Usage, and yeah, also doing such things as collecting in our case here. So, yeah. It's worth mentioning that usually it's then found. It's found, not always, but pretty common to have even just one as, so implying simply other things, or at least two or more, and then at the end the verb suru, to do, so yeah, do such things as, and then do collecting, do whatever else. Here we technically have a suru as we see in a second, but I think it's actually for another thing, for another part here. So this would be a case in which we don't have it immediately. But yeah, after the tari, here we have jiman. Jiman is pride. in one's achievements, possessions, and so on. In our case, possessions here. Self-praise, interesting translation because it's actually even closer to the Japanese word. Yeah, it's a Chinese compound if it weren't clearly placed on the sounds, and also that it's 2 syllables. Luckily unaccented like most of those usually are. So yeah, a noun. Boast also mentions. I mentioned self-praise quite appropriate because actually the G we should have seen before. Yeah, it's the kanji for self, oneself. Don't think we have studied it yet. We should have seen it in Jibun, for example, oneself. The fundamental word for oneself. But yeah. A noun, as I was saying, so to turn it into a verb, we have to add suru. So yeah, the following stai, which comes from suru as we'll see in a second, yeah, it's in this case it's actually for Jiman to turn it into a verb. Suru, completely irregular. So we have to remember that its continuative form is si. In this case, required because then we had the auxiliary adjective, adjective, tai, want to, would like to. So yeah, the desiderative form of the verb. After it, we have kimochi, which is a noun. So this actually technically is at the very least a verb if we consider only jiman, stai, then of course a verb in attributive position. I think technically we can add the previous part here, so it would be a relative clause straight up, the usual structure we have seen before, so yeah, also quite used in Japanese. But yeah, we have kimochi here. Literally, yeah, it's a compound, a strictly Japanese compound, this one. From ki, yeah, the ki we have seen so much in games, unsurprising considering its meaning. Even though we haven't studied its kanji, we have studied the kanji of the other ki, which means chi. Yeah, this one, unaccented, means spirit, mind, and various extended meanings. So yeah, unaccented on its own. And then we had mochi, from motsu, to hold in technically in one's hands, to take, to carry, by extension also to possess, to have. Accented verb, u verb con verb, so we can change the u into i to make the continuative form, and so the corresponding noun would be on its own an accent on the last mora, as usual for this the continuative form used as the corresponding noun when the verb is accented. When it's unaccented, it stays unaccented. There are exceptions, as we have seen, but usually, luckily, that's the rule is respected. So yeah, mochi, having, holding, possessing, and so on. So yeah, literally the spirit, mind, and so on. One implied has. So yeah, from that you can see why its meaning of this compound is feeling, sensation, mood, state of mind. The accent of the compound becomes an accent. Yeah, unfortunately, they aren't as we've seen these tend to be unaccented or accented in between on the last more of the first word of the compound, or the first more of the second word part of the compound. But yeah, we have 3 alternatives, and unfortunately there isn't one strictly more common than the other. Maybe an accented ones, as based on what we have seen so far, but yeah, no. Unfortunately, we can't. They aren't as reliable as Chinese compounds when it comes to the accent. After it, we have the topic particle war. It has a ha. So as for the feelings, the feeling. So yeah, actually, so far it says, however, as for the feeling of being proud of, and we have to adapt it in English, of collecting things, still pretty close to the Japanese, but yeah, we have to add some. Literally speaking, here we have we have as mentioned, Jimashita becomes the verb, and then yeah, the pride of we have to add that of doing such things as, and so on. We can continue. Yeah, simply after saying that, yeah, he says Dare demo aru. Dare is an interrogative pronoun, which means who, accent on the first mora. Here we add demo, as mentioned. So yeah, technically even, as already mentioned, but when we add demo to interrogative pronouns such as dare here, we get the corresponding every word, or we could say even better technically, who ever. So it would be, it would be everyone, everybody, whoever. Technically also anyone, anybody. I wanted to have, I'd say, keep that technically distinct because there's also, well, I mentioned it incidentally here, by adding simply the inclusive particle mo to question interrogative pronouns such as dare, we get the corresponding any word. Yeah, that one is more strictly anyone because it actually can be used also with negative verbs. So yeah, not anyone, nobody, no one. But yeah, in Japanese we don't have strictly the negative version of those. We straight up simply have anyone, anything, and so on, and then with the negative verb. Oh yeah, while demo, on the other hand, yeah, it's more like everyone, everything, and so on, or whoever. So yeah, whoever, technically, yeah, everyone. Aru at the end. Aru, verb with to be as in to exist of inanimate things. So yeah, like Iru we mentioned, but this one for inanimate things, so objects and other various things. So actions, technically, abstract things, and so on. Considering that meaning, can be also translated as there is, there are, but usage in Japanese is here it's slightly not it's not as typical because of how the sentence is structured, but usually we find someone wa with the topic particle, something ga subject particle, and then these verbs to be seen to exist iru or aru, depending on if it's an animate or inanimate thing. Literally, so as for the someone, the something exists, but because of that meaning, it's actually used as it's a really common way to say that someone has the something in Japanese. So aru in this case, let's say also technically there are as in someone has the something. Yeah, here it becomes slightly different because the topic particle replaces with the thing, the subject particle. So that what everyone has, it's the feeling, the feeling, those feelings of want, of being proud, and so on. So he's saying, that actually being proud of collecting things and so on. Yeah, everyone, whoever has those. So yeah. And yeah, last but not least, he says, minna mo urayamashii in da na. And yeah, so we have minna once more, everyone. Yeah, notice by the way that in that case, while we have the word daredemo as mentioned, there's also straight up this word for people, for everyone, minna. All you could say to keep them distinguished, but yeah, no. This one is more used when in general, so yeah, when talking about everyone, all the people, minna usually. Daredemo, we have seen how it comes up when we say more in the sense of whoever. Whoever has those feelings. But yeah. After minna, we have mo also. And then we have urayamashii. Urayamashii is a adjective. In particular, one of those in shii. Yeah, it's a typical form of adjectives. It's worth mentioning, incidentally, that in classical Japanese, because we've actually seen some of those and we've mentioned them, the adjectives were all in she. The difference was that most were she, but then they dropped the she and added ku for the continuative form. Like now we drop the e to add ku. These ones, which now are she, added the ku to she, so shiku. But yeah, no, now in contemporary Japanese it became easier. Yeah, they straight up added e to these, replaced the she of the other adjectives with e. So yeah, it became easier, but yeah, I wanted to mention it incidentally. It's not a case that we have this she before it. And yeah, that's the reason why. And also because we have already seen those she of, like in yoi, good, yosh, now used simply as an exclamation interjection, but yeah, no, it was originally straight up the classical form of that adjective. Urayamashii means envious, jealous, accented. I wonder if I straight up can find its etymology if I look it up in Wiktionary. Let's see. Yeah, of course we got a drop there. Yeah, technically it simply comes from a verb. Okay, I wasn't thinking about it because honestly, it's not as common in contemporary Japanese, even though it is still used. We use more the adjective. There is the verb urayamu, which means envious, be envious. And we get the adjective by changing the u into a and then adding she, i here in contemporary Japanese, originally she as the one that became shiku. So yeah, actually we'll see other i adjectives with this a, she, i structure. These come from verbs. It's a way to get these adjectives from verbs. More interested here in its etymology of urayamu then. Ura, it's the term we should have seen it elsewhere for interior. Here written with the kanji of heart, so interior as in inner feelings. Yeah, no, the word nowadays is simply ura, interior and so on. Back, actually, we have also seen better opposite side. And from that, yeah, rear, back, but also the inside, originally more inside of, actually inside of a house, and so on. But yeah. So inner feelings, and then yamu. Yamu means to fall ill, accented on its own. Ura on its own, nowadays accent on the last mora, ura. Written with a different kanji, not the one for heart shown here because of this peculiar meaning, but yeah, no. Yamu means to fall ill. Here actually, better the second extended, still related meaning, to suffer from a disease. But yeah, in this case actually to suffer from technically inner feelings, of course, of jealousy, of envy, so in that sense. But yeah, we'll actually mention it again when we studied its kanji, because actually it can be written with a kanji, and that is actually used. But yeah. Then last but not least, nda. N, contraction of no. Here the nominalizer, for verbs or adjectives, as we can see here. Thing, as in fact. After it, the copula in plain speech da, cioè the usual expression, it is that, the fact is that, the explanation is that, and so on. Last but not least, the final sentence particle, the usual na that isn't clear, because yeah, it has several usages. Here, let's say technically simply the emphasis. Notice that after it we have an exclamation, so yeah, more in that sense than anything else. But yeah, so yeah, here it's saying, also everyone, it is that, well, actually, it is that also everyone is envious, is jealous. So yeah. So yeah, he's saying that they call him the Pokemon maniac, but yeah, actually they're simply jealous of him, of all the things, actually Pokemon also, as I think someone has mentioned the rare Pokemon and so on here. But yeah, with that we have finished checking out here the what the NPCs in the Pokémon Center had to say. So yeah, we can leave. We'll check out at least. We'll start checking out the shop, then we take our usual break. At this point, I'd say makes more sense to check out the shop. Technically, I could buy some things, but I don't particularly need them for now. I think the only addition so far is the super potion, they're called in English. In Japanese, as we can see here, straight up simply I Kizugusuri, so yeah, good potion. But yeah, we'll check that out and also its name at another point. We don't need to buy anything in particular for now. So. I don't remember strictly. I don't think those were here. Well, not in this shop specifically, in shops before. We have seen the one in Pewter City. I don't remember if in this game the items in the shops are simply affected by the badges, the number of badges you currently have. So we might have actually seen the super potions and I forgot to mention them. Or there is a difference between the items in shops. Well, this one I'm talking about regular shops. There will be some specific shops with specific items, but yeah, those will come at another time. Let's start talking to these NPCs inside here. This one says Mushi yoke spray wa Mushi dokoro ka, and then continues. Yeah, first and foremost we have Mushi yoke spray. We have already seen it. It's the Japanese name of repels. The item we have already checked it out. Simply without the full explanation. Mushi, which we'll see also down there. Insect, unaccented should be. Yoke from Yokeru. Here saw the corresponding, the contracted form and the corresponding noun to actually make the compound with the forming spray. To avoid. Actually, we're pretty sure we've seen that it would use a different kanji than usual than the one for Yokeru, but never mind that. It isn't shown here, and the origin is clearly that anyway. Yeah, Mushi was unaccented. Spray, from English, spray. Topic particle wa. Mushi again. Then we have this Dokoro ka. I think the dictionary will mention it as a particle, even though strictly speaking, yeah, it's not an actual simply a particle. First we had Dokoro, comes from Tokoro. We have seen that term before. Tokoro on its own and accented means place, spot, and so on. Here it voiced, because it's actually used as a quote-unquote particle. We could say technically as a suffix, so that's why it becomes voiced. It's of strictly Japanese origin. To that we add ka, which technically would be the interrogative particle once more. Here I suspect, yeah, not in an interrogative sense, how to the meaning of this Dokoro ka is far from anything but, not at all, but rather, not, on the contrary, instead of, yeah, even easier, rather than. So and it's in the sense of in the place literally of whatever comes before it. So yeah, instead of that's honestly the easiest translation of this. Kai suspect is in the sense of as if there are these expressions in Japanese with the interrogative particle ka for rhetorical questions, and also things like these, I suspect is in that sense. It's worth mentioning that technically ka is also can be used as a particle with the meaning or. Usually, yeah, in the sense that is it the something before the ka, or is it implied, or is it something else? If we put it, between two, so yeah, is it the first one or the second one? But yeah, so far it's simply saying, as for the repel, the spray that gets rid, makes you avoid bugs, insects, instead of insects, bugs, or better, in this case, it isn't strictly simply instead of it's more in the sense it's the second usage of this dokoro ka. Clearly, you can see why from the first one. Not only, but also. So not only insects, but also. Actually, we have also the particle mo also. Pokémon mo. Yotte konai yo. And so we have after Pokémon mo also Pokémon. Yotte, which comes from yoru. Here conjugated, so we are 100% sure it's the verb. There is also yoru as a noun. It's the noun for night. Accent on the first more, but here a verb. There are technically more than one, but this is the more common one, I'd say, which means to approach, to draw near, to come near. I think we might have seen it before in this very series. Maybe in Pewter City. Maybe a game for the matter of the spray, of the repels. Regardless, draw near, come near, here I'd say. Verb, Godan verb. So we have to follow the rules to make that a form. It's in rules, so it becomes double consonant. We change the U into I. Yori, te, the I file, your te, difficult to pronounce. Becomes contracted, so double consonant instead. Yotte. Actually, yotte, we met. No, okay, was correct. Yoru is unaccented as the verb. So actually, the accent can also distinguish between the yoru, night, and yoru, the verb in this case. But the form required because after it we had a verb of movement. This one from kuru to come. When we had that, literally can be simply to the action of the verb in te and the second verb. That's the usual usage of the form on its own. Or used the verb of movement as an auxiliary. Literally simply doing the action of the verb in te with that kind of movement. As we mentioned, yoru on its own would be to approach, to draw near. This one, by adding kuru, it's more to come near. So something does the action towards the speaker. other usages, I wanted to mention them incidentally. We've seen them before, also in practice. Can also have a temporal meaning, but we'll see them again. Yeah, no, in this case, as already mentioned, it's in the because it's to come near. Kuru, completely regular, also like Suru. So we have to remember that it's we can change it into Ko to make the Iriais, not the state form, negative base, we could simply say in contemporary Japanese. Yeah, used usually to add then negative auxiliary technically. Here Nai, the adjective which means non-existent, and yeah, also used with verbs with this negative base to make the negative form of the verb in plain speech. Cioè con I don't come. And yeah, then last but not least, the final sentence particle. Yo. So yeah, he's saying not only insects but also Pokemon don't, in general we could say, or won't. The present form of the verb in Japanese can also be used for a simple future. I'd say here simply don't, as in he's talking about in general, the repairs, yeah, as in when you use them implied, not only insects but also Pokemon don't come near, you know. Then he says, Tsuyoi Pokémon no Ichiban Mae, suspension dots, and then continues, but I put it lower because it continues, and so we have the full part of that. Tsuyoi, the adjective which means strong, I've seen it before, I'm pretty sure also in this very series. Should be accented, but I check quickly. Pokemon, of course. Object particle O. Ichiban. We have mentioned it before. Yeah, we have seen it originally straight up a numeral plus counter combination. Ichi 1 ban number, so number 1. Ban is of strictly Japanese, is of Chinese origin, so we use the Chinese numeral. This one accented before ban itself. There are some that we have seen unaccented, unfortunately, so be careful. But all the other ones accented before ban. So literally number 1. By extension, it's also used for most, best, by most. In this case, mae means in front of, well, front in general, so in front of, before, yeah, also then before in temporal meaning. So yeah, here it's saying, yeah, the most in front implied a verb, as we see it will be put simply, something along those lines. We could say in general, a strong Pokemon. So yeah, he's saying this so far, but yeah. Then the suspension dots is because he'll explain it more in detail. Okay, I'd say since this actually will take some time, we check the rest. Yeah, as you can see, there is still a good amount. We check the rest after the usual break, so we'll take it now. It makes more sense. When we'll be back, we'll continue what this NPC is saying. We check what the other NPCs says also up there. I think we should be able to also go straight up around Cerulean City, outside, at least a little outside of the Pokémon Center and Mart, but yeah, we'll see. Our usual break around 2 or at most 3 minutes, let's say. Yeah, see you then. And we're back. Yeah, so we can continue. Yeah, first and foremost, we'll continue talking to this NPC. Okay. So yeah, it was saying we've seen the first part fully about the repel that not only insects but also Pokemon don't come near. And then we stopped here that he said that the verb, as we see, is something like put. Actually, I've seen it incidentally, but you know. By putting the most in front, or the number one, we can actually straight up keep it as is in this case. I'd say the number one in front, put a strong Pokemon, and then after the suspension dots, yeah, it's the thing we haven't checked out yet. Tsumari, Pokemon Risto no Hidarigawa ni oite okeba. Yeah, first and foremost, we have Tsumari. Which is an adverb in this case. Technically comes from the verb tsumaru. So yeah, here becomes technically an adverb in practice, but yeah, the origin is the usual from a verb verb one verb, we change the U into E to make the continuative form and so the corresponding noun. Here a noun that actually then becomes used as an adverb. But yeah. Tsumaru, the verb means to be packed, filled, full, and so on. Other extended meanings, we might have to mention one for this case technically. Tsumari, so, becomes, strictly speaking, as mentioned from the continuative form, would be the corresponding noun. Packed, full, well, better packed in this case. But yeah, the usually yeah, it's as an adverb, which means well, the origin, the most likely original meaning is in short, in brief. To sum up, you can see why from the verb, which means be packed, be filled, be full. And by extension, actually, yeah, it's worth mentioning that to become shorter, to shrink, to narrow, yeah, we got that meaning. Then, by extension, from that in short, in brief, to sum up, we get the meaning also. That is to say, in other words, so yeah, and yeah, that's honestly the most common usage or the fundamental usage nowadays of tsumari. Tsumari, by the way, should be accented on the last mora. Follows the rules, luckily. Of course, when used as an adverb, like this, then after there's a pause, so actually sounds the same as if it were unaccented. But yeah, so yeah, that is to say, yeah, here is so is saying, is putting in other words what is said about implied put the strong Pokemon the most in front, the number one in front. So in other words, Pokemon Risto, I think we might have seen it before mentioned in talking, but yeah, straight up simply Pokemon list. And yeah, it's the list of Pokemon we've seen. When you choose should be Pokemon, straight up simply the option in the menu. Yeah, we've already used it, even though I don't think I've fully explained things in it. Some I think I have, but not all. I wanted to check list because it could be okay. No, luckily accented like in English. There are some English words that become unaccented in Japanese. Some that have usually, yeah, most, let's say, keep the accent like in English. Some become unaccented, but there are there are several. We have seen several examples of that. Yeah, less common. There also are some straight up exceptions that become that are accented but in different spots compared to English. And we have found also some of those. But yeah, here simply Risto, high, low, low. I suspect here becomes a compound despite the space they added here to make it clearer to read. Of course, these are supposed to be be played by also kids, so that's why. But yeah, I suspect the accent, we would get a global accent for Pokemon Risto. We would keep the accent of Listo, so yeah, Pokemon Risto. Possessive particle, no. Hidarigawa. Okay, I don't think we might not have seen it's a compound noun. We might not have seen even Hidari on its own. Unaccented means left, yeah, the direction. Gawa is used here technically as a suffix or the second word part of the compound. Gawa comes technically from Kawa, which would be accent on the last mora. Gawa, as mentioned also by the plugin online dictionary plus plugin combination, becomes unaccented. Regardless, it means side. So yeah, literally here simply left side. The accent of Hidarigawa is an accent, yes, it's unaccented. I suspect, let me actually get the physical dictionary. Got the physical dictionary. The one with the suffixes. Because I suspect it might be mentioned also there straight up as a suffix. Yeah, I found it. Yeah, straight up mentions when you add gawa, yeah, it becomes always unaccented. So actually pretty convenient. Hidarigawa. After it, we have the particle ni. To, into, I'd say in this case, required by because of the following verb, which is oite. Technically, oite okeba. Yeah, first oite from oku, which we have seen before. Less so as a verb on its own. So yeah, here we see it. Oku, unaccented, means to put, yeah, as I mentioned. So you can see now that why I mentioned that put as the verb implied by the first part as well. To put, to place, other extended meanings, also to leave behind, we have seen. Yeah, so to put, to place. Verb and verb, so to make that a form, we have to follow the rules. Yeah, it's in curso again. Ite. After it, in this case, yeah, we have that form because it's followed by okeba, which, funny enough, also comes from oku. Yeah, so first we have oku in its usage, it's as a verb on its own, to put, to place. Then we have oku as the auxiliary after that form of a verb, with the meaning to figuratively put, as in better, in the sense then of we've seen to leave something in a certain state, to keep something in a certain state, or even more often, like in this case, yeah, another example of that. To do something in advance, so yeah, figuratively putting aside the action of the verb in te. So yeah, we have oku twice because of this. So yeah, if you figuratively put the action of placing the Pokemon in, so yeah, because of that. And then, though we don't have oku on its own, we have okeba. So yeah, we change the u into e to make this, to then add ba. And yeah, ba is one of the forms, is used to make one of the forms of the conditional in Japanese. If, when can also be used with a temporal meaning, like if, when in English. This is the most generic one, I'd say. We have seen other forms of the conditional are more specific. I've mentioned before, this is the closest to the first conditional, but we have seen also in practice it used as a second conditional before, I don't remember where. maybe even this very series. But yeah, regardless, this one I say is the more basic conditional. The one without basic in the sense of without specifications, more generic. But yeah. So far is saying so. In other words, if you put in advance, again implied the strong Pokémon mentioned above, to, cioè ni as in to, because of the verb to put, the left side of the Pokémon list. And yeah, literally we've seen that the Pokémon list in this game we have on the left the first Pokémon in the team and only that one on the left and the rest on the right. So yeah, so that's why he's saying this here. And yeah, after that, last but not least, it says Koka wa baizo da. Yeah, so we have Koka that we have seen before in this very series also. There are other Koka, but yeah, no, this is the one with the meaning effect. Accent on the first mora, yes it is. Chinese compound, but yeah, one of those accent on the first mora, the second most common accent for those. Topic particle wa. Baizo, yeah, another Chinese compound. This one means technically, strictly, would be doubling. Literally, we have the kanji for double and the one for increase. Yeah, an accent as expected, like most Chinese compounds. Baizo. I suspect it, well, while strictly speaking, the term means doubling or double the noun. We can turn it into a verb also by adding suru, by the way. It's worth mentioning that bai, the kanji for double, can also be used for times, times in the sense of fold. So also used with other numbers in that case, but yeah, it specifically would be double. So yeah, this one would be technically doubling. I'm not sure if it's actually straight up doubling in practice, this effect. But yeah, this is what it says. We could say more in general, just to be safe, increases. But yeah, after it, technically we have it's considered a noun here. So yeah, we have the copula in plain speech, da. So it's saying, yeah, if you do all that of putting the strongest Pokemon the most in front, in other words, if you put them in advance on the left side of the Pokemon list, as for the effect, it's here in English we would say doubled. Yeah, I don't know if it's straight up double, but yeah, you want to put a strong Pokemon to avoid increase the effect of the repairs as yeah. If I recall correctly, straight up, yeah, and that's why I don't think it's actually straight up double. The mechanic should be that technically you have to, if you use a repel and put then and you don't encounter Pokemon that are at a lower level than the one you have in front, the strong one, the one you have in front, or something along those lines. Again, I might be confusing it, the mechanic, because some mechanics vary from game to game in Pokemon games. But yeah, no, I think it's overall like that. And that's why, by the way, when we used a repel, maybe at first, I actually switched pretty early on to stronger Pokemon there for this reason. But yeah, so we got that to hear that. Now we can continue by checking out what this girl has to say to us. This girl says, お店では見たことないけど、不思議な飴知ってる? And yeah, first and foremost, we have omise. And yeah, omise comes simply from mise. Mise should be accented on the last one on its own. Yes, it is. Means a store, shop. By extension, establishment in general, and so can also be restaurant more specifically. But yeah, the fundamental term is actually, the fundamental meaning is actually store, shop. Here with the honorific prefix, unfortunately we can't confirm if it changes the accent there. It could become an accent. We have seen that it can happen that when you add the honorific prefix, some of the words become an accent. It could be the case of this one. Let me see if I can find it in the physical dictionary. Maybe by looking at, by searching for mise. Sometimes then it is mentioned that those forms with the honorific prefix. Mise. Okay, found it. And yeah, this is a perfect example. Yeah, in this dictionary, the one with the suffixes I'm using is the Shinmeikai Nihongo Accento Jiten of Sansedo. The other one is the, let's see from here, Nihongo Hatsuon Accento Jiten of NHK. But yeah, maybe that's present also there, by the way. But yeah, here in this one, yeah, mise, accent on the last spore as mentioned, shows the kanji, of course, as usual. And then we have in between brackets omise and unaccented by putting honorific prefix and then the tilde symbol. Yeah, in this case, in the dictionary, in the sense, honorific prefix and the rest of the word we have already mentioned. But yeah, it's also an usage like that of that symbol. Okay. Oh yeah, so we have a confirmation of another word that becomes unaccented with the honorific prefix. After it we have de wa. Here de simply as the locative particle, the one used with most verbs. We use ni for verbs of staying, like the ones we have seen aru, iru, and so on. Aru and iru more often than not. After it, the topic particle was, so yeah, literally simply. As for at shops, let's say shop, in the plural, here simply as in general, but as a reminder, words in Japanese can be singular or plural with regard as is. We can specify the plural by adding pluralizing suffixes and so on, but you know, the word as is usually can be singular or plural regardless. But here I translated as plural in simply because in shops in general. After it we have mita. Yeah, now we have even studied kanji to see, to look at, to watch. Yeah, here simply see. Ru verb with some verb, so we can drop the ru. Because it's a ru verb with some verb, we drop the ru, and then to add the ta. Here actually is the past form in plain speech. In this case, because after it we have koto, the other nominals for verbs thing doesn't matter. There are some different usages between no and koto. In this case, we use koto for this expression, because after it we have nai. Nai in this case non-existent, we have already mentioned it, but it's used as a replacement for aru. Instead of conjugating aru in plain speech, we replace it with nai for its negative. So we don't conjugate it as usual, negative base plus the nai. No, we straight up replace it with nai, because nai already means non-existent. Aru means to be, as in to exist. So you can see why. But this expression with the past form of a verb in plain speech, because after it we put koto, a noun, so strictly speaking would technically be a verb in attributive position, so usually in plain speech, or if not straight up, usually straight up, usually a relative clause. That form of the verb, koto, if we added a particle, would technically be ga, the fundamental one, the subject particle. Aru, so literally it would mean there is there, also used in questions. There is or is there then the fact of having done the action of the verb. So it's actually the expression used for to ask if someone has the experience of having done something. In this case, with the negative, actually, in the sense, I don't have the experience of having seen. You see, then the rest with the rest of the sentence. But also this is the expression used for to ask the typical have you been or have you done something. So experiences in that sense. But after it we have kedo, conjunction in this case, but, accent on the first mora. After it we have fushigi na ame. Ame actually an accented. We have seen it before, because we have found it somewhere, don't remember. Maybe straight up in Moon or before it. Don't think after. Literally it is mystery, mysterious, strange, or however you want to translate fushigi. Candy, cioè it's those rare candies in English. We've checked out them already. Wanted to mention incidentally fushigi, unaccented, an adjective, as you can see here. Ame, with this one, with the meaning of candy, unaccented. Accented on the first mora would be rain, but no, doesn't make sense also based on the context. We could also distinguish it if it were pronounced with the accent. Last but not least, she says shiteru, from shiru. To know should be unaccented, we've seen it before. And I mentioned technically would be more to get to know. And this is exactly the reason why, because it's a verb and verb. We have to follow the rules to make that a form, so it's in rules, so it becomes double consonant te. After it, we have Ru, so actually the contraction of Iru. So yeah, continuing action or state. This one would be technically continuing state. Have you got to know? So yeah, in that sense, that's the reason why to say that someone knows something, because it would be that someone is in the state of knowing something. We use the te iru structure to remember that. Yeah, I'd say to know, but honest. You could say get to know for to keep in mind that this peculiarity in Japanese. And that's the reason why actually in the affirmative we usually found it in the form shiteiru. In the negative we actually find simply with the simple negative. In plain speech would be shiranai. So yeah, that's the reason, because yeah, actually you simply don't know. Yeah, there we don't have to specify that one is in the state of knowing. Yeah, no, you straight up don't know. You so yeah, there's that peculiarity, so be careful. But yeah, and yeah, by the way, here we have an example of an interrogative, a question. We see the question mark after it. So when spoken would have the intonation shiteru, the rising intonation at the end. We don't have the usual interrogative particle. And yeah, this happens in more casual speech, like in this case. Other particles have disappeared as well. The ga of koto, kotogaru. Technically, in this case, could be the topic particle wa, but the one because of the following negative verb. After fushiginame, I would say an object particle, so you know something, the something being the rare candy. So yeah, casual speech drops off a lot of particles around here. Also the contraction technically of te iru, but that alone. Even more so, yeah, the dropping the particles. And yeah, also the ka at the end. But yeah, so here she's saying, yeah, as for shops, I haven't seen it. I haven't seen implied it, the following, because she said it after, implied there. And then she says, do you know, but do you know of rare candies? By the way, this usage of kedo, we could say like ga even more so, but also kedo can be used. But technically, we have seen it here. Technically, the first part is more of introductory remark. So yeah, she's yeah, I haven't seen them in shops, but do you know about rare candies? So yeah, by saying that, yeah, I haven't seen it in shops because you actually can't buy them in shops. So yeah, and that's why actually we have already checked also its description when we have found it. But yeah, we can continue. And yeah, after that she says, Pokémon ga ikki ni sudatte reberu ga agaru rashii no. First and foremost, Pokémon. Subject particle ga. Ikki. Well, ikki ni here. I wonder if I find it straight up as is. I found it as straight up as is technically. Also with the addition, the ni, which is the particle here. Icky, we could technically say numeral plus counter, even though I'm not sure it's particularly used as a counter nowadays. I'd say it's more used as a fixed expression. Yeah, it's a Chinese compound regardless. Combining ichi, the number 1, with ki, yeah, the key again of spirit, mind, and so on, becomes its accent on the first mora, icky. Yeah, there's also the contraction of the t of ichi. Yeah, originally it was straight up simply a t in classical Japanese from Chinese. So even more so than it becomes simply the doubling of the following consonant. But we have seen also with other final consonants, which in Chinese were for sure without the vowel. Japanese added those, but yeah, they can drop, and then usually that's why we get these contractions because of that. But yeah, regardless, icky. So literally one breath. By the way, by extension becomes also an interjection for chug, drink, as a party cheer. But yeah, when we add ni, here we could say call ni as the adverb particle. I'd say most likely the origin is actually as the continuative form of the classical form of the classical copula nari, so literally being one breath, as in then in one breath, the translation. We can say then in one go, one gulp, without stopping, without pausing, and so on. By extension, simply suddenly, all of a sudden, all at once. You can see why from that literal meaning. Then we have sodate. Sodatsu, we have definitely seen it in this very series before. To be raised, brought up, to grow up. The intransitive form of the verb. Reminder that the transitive is in eru, sodateru. So another couple of verbs in u, the intransitive, eru, the transitive. Accented, both. Verb go and verb. So we have to follow the rules to make that a form. In this case it's in tsu, so yeah, it becomes double consonant te. Again, originally actually it is one, we changed the u into i. So that ti, yeah, in the past there weren't the changes of the ta, chi, tsu, te, to, so it was simply tati to te to. So yeah, so dati te, the i fell, so that te, yeah, already double consonant. And regardless, yeah, we would have the usual consonant before the te, and so becoming simply the doubling of the following consonant with the contraction. But yeah, here I'd say te form on its own, so yeah, to the action of the verb and the rest of the sentence. Could be also by doing the action, while doing. I think simply and in this case, but we'll see in translation. Then we have Raiberu. I've already seen it in this series. Yeah, it's a term used in Pokemon games, of course. Level from English. Accent like in English, luckily. Such a particle ga. Agaru. Verb. We have even studied its kanji to rise, go up, and so on. Unaccented. Agaru. After it we have Rashi. Yeah, we've already seen it before. I think even in this series it's a auxiliary adjective, adjective, with the meaning seeming, appearing. Seeming, appearing, based on evidence, reason or trustworthy hearsay. After nouns, it gets the meaning ish, like, typical of, and so on. But yeah, no, with verbs seeming appearing in those cases. Worth mentioning because there are other seeming appearing with other auxiliaries, but in other cases, this one is for a judgment based on evidence, reason, trustworthy, hearsay. Last but not least, we have no. Here I'd say as a final sentence particle. I'd say most likely simply because it's a girl that's speaking, so the usage of no as a final sentence particle as a female term or language, emotional emphasis, quote unquote, but female term or language. So here's this saying, the Pokemon grow up instantly, suddenly. Definitely not literally in one breath, by extension then gulp and so on. But suddenly, and implied there of the Pokemon, its level increases, goes up literally, simply. And then there is she at the end, so it seems that what we have all said, all that. So she explained, in case you haven't, the mechanic of the rare candies, so pretty useful. With that we can leave. We have a little time, so we can at least start checking out some things here around Cerulean City. I'd say it makes more sense to start here from the entrance. I show I'm going around a little to show. Then there's something up here, but that we'll tackle later. There's that blocked by the police officer, but we'll see it. There's a gym. That we'll tackle eventually. So I'd say still let's start from here, from the entrance. By talking to this man, who says, "Ho ho!" Funny enough, first and foremost, with this interjection. Then it says, Pokémon no Zukan o Tsukuteru. So this ho ho. There are other ones, but used as actual terms, nouns, Chinese compounds. This is this interjection. We could say kind of like a laugh, ho ho. In the sense of huh, or oh, wow, but more in the sense of I see. I wonder if there is technically an accent for it. Okay, the accent for it is unaccented, so ho ho, ho ho. Then we have Pokemon, subject part, possessive particle no. Zukan, we've already seen it. We have one. It's the Japanese name for, with Pokemon before it, the Pokédex. Strictly speaking, again, Chinese compound on its own, unaccented like most of those. Pictorial book, as in an illustrated reference book, and so on. Object particle O. And then Tsukuteru, And yeah, we have the verb tsukuru. We have even studied one of its kanji finally. Depending on the kanji, we have some more specific meanings, but the fundamental one is to make. To produce. And yeah, so we have that meaning accented. Un verb and verb, it's in ru, so it becomes double consonant te, as usual. After, yeah, in this case used because we have the ru after it, so yeah, contraction of iru, continuing action or state. And then notice once more we have the question mark immediately. Here maybe also because of space reasons, honestly. But yeah, regardless, yeah, it's speech, so the ka can disappear. There's the intonation anyway. So yeah, yeah, it says, I see. Are you making a Pokédex? A Pokémon illustrated guide? And then he says, Sore wa tanoshi so da na. Oh yeah, first and foremost we have Sore, part of the Kosodo series. With the re we get the demonstrative pronoun, so yeah, that. In this case we know singular because it's referring simply to what is said immediately before, so yeah, that. Topic particle y, so yeah, as for that, the fact that you are making, making Pokédex. Tanoshi so, yeah, from Tanoshi, fun, enjoyable, and so on, pleasant, accented. E adjective, so we can drop the E to add so u, so actually so long with the long o. The usual rule of ou is a long o in Japanese. So is an auxiliary na adjective in this case. And yeah, funny enough, this is the auxiliary with the meaning appearing, seeming that, used after the mass stem of a verb, the conjugative form of a verb, or the stem, the adjective stem. So in the case of the adjectives, by dropping the E. In the case of na adjectives, by attaching it directly to the na adjective, without anything else in between. Not even the na. But yeah. Yeah, this one appearing, seeming that, yeah, this one is technically more generic. This one is more based on appearance, perfect for appearance. So yeah, if you see something, to say that simply it looks, for example, something that looks tasty, you could say oishiso. It looks tasty, but yeah, you don't. If you don't have straight up a reason or trustworthy hearsay and so on, you wouldn't use rashi, you would use this so. And yeah, also here generica, yeah, so it seems fun. Being an adjective, after it, yeah, we used here at the end of the sentence the copula, da in plain speech. And then last but not least we have na, here with the longer vowel, and yeah, definitely this is the usage of na, which is also actually pretty often found specifically with the longer vowel. In the sense more of admiration, emotionality, and so on. In translation, we could say something more like a wow or a ooh. So yeah, in that sense. So yeah, he's saying, yeah, as for that, it seems fun. Oh yeah, pretty easy. We can continue. Okay, let's say next we can check out what the kid around here has to say. Yeah, he says, ヤドランがいなければ、木を切って、and then continues. First we have a no. With the no, we get the demonstrative adjective. Cioè, that, over there, technically, that something, we see what that something is in a second, over there. Perfect, because it's actually down, relatively distant from here. Cioè, I is perfect. It's not close to either of us here. Yeah, that something is actually Yadoran, which is the Japanese name of Slowbro. We have seen it incidentally, the Pokemon, not the name. We haven't seen it mentioned before. While we were going around the city, of course, yeah, the bottom. We'll see it, hopefully we'll see it eventually. I don't remember actually if it's... so even more so considering that I might have to mention it right now. Let me quickly check. I've opened Bulbapedia anyway to check if they have something additional to say. Okay, good thing, because actually it's exclusive to Leaf Green. I had the suspicion. So even more so, it's worth mentioning it right now. We should find them anyway as... not sure if Slowbro, I hope at the very least Slowpoke as from trainers, as Pokemon of trainers, other trainers. Yeah, Yadoran comes from, by the way, the Japanese name of Slowbro, Slowpoke is Yadon. Cioè, this practically the same, this one only has the Ra in addition. Yeah, Yadoranka funny enough, it's a proper name of to be specific, here it says a Bosnian singer-songwriter. I think it's mentioned here because it might have been straight up the inspiration for... There are some things in Pokemon, especially I think especially the earliest games, that come from the weirdest things possible. So yeah, it potentially is... I bet it's mentioned here because it has been mentioned in some interview or something like that. Regardless, not just for that reason, the most obvious ones, based on the Pokemon, how the Pokemon looks, we have the term Yadokari in Japanese, unaccented, strictly Japanese compound. Literally, we have Yado. Okay, actually on its own, accent to the first more on its own. So Yado, which means lodging in general. So actually then also, yeah, usually more lodging, so inn, hotel, lodging better. By extension also dwelling, so technically house, home, but yeah, we've seen there are more specific terms for house, home. And then we have Kari, from Kariru. Let me see if I can find it. I think an accent, yes it is. To borrow, we drop the ru, verb is and verb, we drop the ru to make the continuative form, and so the corresponding noun. So borrowing, by extension also, of course, actually loan, debt. But yeah, no, here simply borrowing, so yeah, literally dwelling, borrowing. Yeah, Yadokari unaccented as a compound is the term for hermit crab. And it can also be straight up simply renting a house, borrowing a house. Again, no, in our case here, hermit crab, because yeah, of that's how the Pokemon looks. The whole matter of the shell attached to that attaches to Slowpoke, if you have ever seen it before. We see it better when we straight up see the bigger sprite in a fight. And also we have the term Yadonushi. Yado, once more, the dwelling, from lodging. Nushi, accent on the first more on its own, means technically also head of a household, leader, master. I'd say here, more in general, simply owner. Most likely actually comes from that also, that meaning, but yeah, the fundamental one I say here, owner. So yeah, literally from dwelling owner, we get this meaning Yadonushi, this compound Yadonushi, accented on the do, so actually on the last more of the first word part of the compound, which actually means host in the biological, in the term used in biology, so yeah, as a parasitic host. And again, yeah, that applies once more to the whole matter of the evolution of Slowpoke. Actually, we should have mentioned it before, this before. We have seen Slowpoke and Slowbro. I forgot to mention. Yeah, we have seen them in Pokémon Snap. Yeah, worth repeating here. Last but not least, the Don. Yeah, here not seen because of it's the full Yadoran. Don seen even more so in Yadon for Slowpoke. Don is the kanji for which means dull. Yeah, dull, and so also slow, stupid, accented. By the way, the accent can stay on the n, so on the do. Yeah. After having said all that, yeah, we have a Slowbro. Yeah, then here it says subject particle ga inakereba, first and foremost from iru, to be assumed to exist, of anime things, so yeah, perfect here for a Pokemon, people and animals, usually in Japanese, so yeah, in this case also for Pokemon in Pokemon games. Iru, verb, it's and verb, so we can drop the ru to make it, in this case, the Irialis form, not the straight form negative base, because then we had nai, so a negative form of the verb. Although it doesn't stop there. Then we drop the i and add kereba. Strictly speaking, the origin is actually we drop the i, add ku, the continuative form of adjectives. Then we add areba, we add aru, the verb we have already seen, to be assumed to exist of inanimate things on its own, also used for conjugation of i adjectives. Aru, verb and verb, so we can change the u into e, to then add the ba again, so to make this condition form of the conditional. Naku areba gets contracted into na kereba. Yeah, ku a becomes ke. And nowadays it's used straight up like this, contracted practically always. But yeah, form of the conditional, cioè in the negative. Then we have key, yeah, this one, based on the context, is actually the one accented one for 3, where we studied kanji, which is particle O. Kitte, from Kiru to cat. To cat, U verb, con verb, despite being in Iru. Verbs in Iru and Eru usually are Ru verbs in some verbs, but there are some exceptions. Kiru is one of them. The one to cat. Other Kiru are Ru verbs in some verbs. So yeah, you can also distinguish them that way. Yeah, U verb, con verb in Ru, so becomes double consonant at the form. So yeah, it's saying so far, if there weren't, and you can see now why I mentioned that it can be technically be the second condition. If there weren't that Slowbro, but there is implied. So yeah, if there weren't a Slowbro, by cutting, I'd say maybe, but we'll see better when we see the rest of the sentence. By cutting a tree, and yeah, after that it says Muko ni ikeru no ni. First and foremost, Muko, I think we have even studied its kanji because of another. Muko means technically opposite, other side, but yeah, then simply by extension, this is the, I'd say, actually the more common meaning nowadays. Over there, beyond, ahead, and so on. Other extended meanings then, but ignore them for now. Accented on the ko, so muko, low, high, low. The particle ni, to, towards, because yeah, after it we have the verb ikeru, from iku, we have even studied the kanji of that, to go unaccented on its own. We can verb go and verb, so we can change the u into e, and then add the ru to make the potential form of the verb can go. In our case, could go because of the condition above. And yeah, even more so because actually at the end we have noni. Noni is technically a particle. The origin looks like the no, the nominalizer for verbs, and then the ni. But yeah, regardless, nowadays considered globally, in this case, is used as a conjunction for with the meaning although, even though, despite. But yeah, it's also used at the end of sentences, like in this case, when we have something, if only, with the meaning if only. So yeah, here is saying, yeah, if only there weren't that Slowbro, by cutting the tree, you could go over there, suspension dots. Then, last but not least, and we'll check also this before finishing here. Demo. Again, well, first let me read it. Demo. Doko ka mawari michi suru to ikeru rashii kedo. Demo, we've already seen it. However, Dokoka. Doko, when we add the ko to kosoado, we get the place. So yeah, which place? Then simply where. Koko, this place here, and so on. By adding ka, we get the corresponding some word. So yeah, somewhere. You can see why when you consider that the words with some, even in English, means not specify the place. So yeah, because of that we use the interrogative particle associated with the interrogative words for these meanings. But yeah, somewhere. Mawari Michi, a compound of strictly Japanese origin, simply comes from the verb mawaru. Mawaru, I think an accent, yes, to turn, to rotate, and so on. In this case, by extension, I'd say in the meaning to go around, to circle. U verb come verb, we can change the U into I to make the conjunctive form and corresponding noun. Rotation, well, in our case, better is in going around. To then attach also the second word part of the compound, michi, which we should have seen before in this very series at the start, I think, actually. An accented means road, path, street, lane, passage. Route, way, better, even better technically in this case. Other extended meanings. Yeah, literally, yeah. The path, road, path, way. We could say round, as in around, going around. So yeah, a detour. Yeah, literally circuitous route, even could be a translation given by the dictionary, by diversion, by a detour. The accent of Mawari Michi is accented on the ri of Mawari. We have seen an accent on its own, but yeah, here it's because of the it's a compound of strictly Japanese origin, so yeah, accent on the last more of the first word of the compound. That's why it becomes accented. Technically a noun, but we can turn it into a verb by adding suru, so yeah. Make a detour. Do a detour, so yeah, make a detour. After it we have to. So it's another form of the condition, this one. This one closes to the zero condition, so yeah, in the sense that if you do the action of this verb, then something inevitably happens. Yeah, in this case, so yeah, if you make a detour somewhere, ikeru once more, so yeah, you can go beyond, as we said, implied beyond, as we said before. After it, we have again rashi. Okay. It seems, so yeah, apparently because of trustworthy hearsay or something along those lines, or reason. Last but not least, we have kedo, but, and then suspension dots. Yeah, this is the usage with ga or kedo, this but at the end with then, also if I'm also here shown with the suspension dots, because there's an implied part that isn't mentioned here, because it can be understood by the context, and or it could be rude to say it explicitly. In this case, I'd say simply because yeah, it's understood. Yeah, but I don't know where it is. But yeah, so far, so he's saying, however, it seems that you can that if you make a detour somewhere, you can go again beyond. And yeah, but implied, I don't know where it is. Okay, with that we'll end it here. Actually, considering all that, I'll save here, so next time we'll actually start with the infamous Slowbro that kid talked about. Yeah, we'll talk technically also the Slowbro, but even also the girl there. I don't remember if it's straight up his trainer or the slow. Yeah, I think so, but yeah, the Slowbro is in the way here. Oh yeah, can close the game. And yes, so today we continued Pokémon FireRed. We went around more of Cerulean City. We finished the Pokémon Center took care of the Poké Mart, started talking to the characters around Cerulean City outside. And yes, so next time, which for Pokémon FireRed will be on Monday as usual, unless plans change, we'll continue going around Cerulean City, starting with that Slowbro and what I guess is its trainer. Of course, in between, we have a stream mostly just for fun, unless plans change, on Sunday. We'll see. I think it slightly more. I'll open the stream technically tomorrow as usual. We could play some more Tomodachi Life. But I was also thinking as an alternative, giving Lego Party a try. But yeah, we'll see. We'll consider that at worst for another time. But yeah, we'll see. And yeah. See you next time.